3 years ago, I was sitting at my desk in the KPMG office in London with a big six-figure salary. I'd had about 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, and I was about to walk away from all of it. And the truth is, even I didn't know if leaving was a brilliant idea or completely insane. My colleagues thought I'd lost it. My family was a bit concerned. I had every external marker of success and things were going well, but internally I was becoming less and less excited about my work. What I did know is that if I stayed in that comfort zone another year, I'd become someone I didn't recognize, someone who'd given up on what they actually wanted from life. So in this video, I'm going to share the 4 lessons that gave me the courage to finally make this leap. And hopefully, in sharing them, it will give you permission to stop settling for a career that looks perfect on paper, but makes you feel a bit empty inside. Throughout those 20 years, I'd spent building my career at KPMG. I did everything right. I started as a graduate, I made manager, senior manager, director, and finally partner. I had the title, the salary, and I was on the leadership team for a big part of the firm in the UK. It was everything that I'd worked for. And my life looked successful to most people around me. Corporate dinners, international travel, leading major client engagements. My LinkedIn profile was impressive. My family was proud. But then sometime in 2021, I started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this gnawing feeling that I was living somebody else's life. And those promotions that I chased so hard suddenly felt hollow to me. And the meetings that used to really energize me, they felt like Groundhog Day. And that's when I realized that something had to change. But making that change wasn't easy. Walking away from a 2-decade career, from the title and the security that I'd worked so hard for, it felt almost impossible. But I did it. And people often ask me what gave me the courage to finally do it. And I've identified a handful of lessons. Some realizations that shifted how I thought about success, how I thought about fear and ambition. And those are the lessons I'm going to share with you. So lesson number 1, success on paper isn't the same as fulfillment. I remember sitting in a client meeting not long after I'd been made partner. And on the outside, everything looked perfect. The title, the salary, the prestige. But inside, I felt strangely empty, almost like I was watching myself play a role. Because for years, I believed that if I just kept climbing, if I just hit that next promotion, the sense of fulfillment would automatically arrive. And then one day it hit me. I had achieved all of the external markers of success I thought I wanted, but I still wasn't fulfilled. And that was a shock, because I realized that success on paper doesn't guarantee success in reality. Or maybe it does for a bit, but that's no guarantee that it's going to continue to do so. And what really matters is whether the work actually energizes you. And this isn't just my story, it's the experience of so many senior professionals I work with. You can build the CV, the LinkedIn profile, the lifestyle, but if it doesn't feel right on the inside, it won't sustain you. And the broader truth is this: yes, achievement feels good, but at some point, achievement without alignment to who you really are feels hollow. And if you're starting to sense that, it's a signal that you can't afford to ignore. While that experience taught me that success on paper doesn't guarantee fulfillment, what happened next showed me something even deeper. That ambition itself evolves over time. So that takes me to the second lesson, which is your ambition evolves, and that's actually okay. So in my 20s and early 30s, my ambition was crystal clear: to make partner. And that goal drove everything. The long hours, the sacrifices, the relentless focus. But a few years after I had achieved it, the ambition that had fueled me for years was no longer there. And being a more senior partner didn't inspire me. So I felt confused, even a bit guilty for not wanting what I thought I'd always wanted. And then I realized that ambition isn't fixed. It evolves as you do. And the goals that once lit you up may not be the ones that fulfill you in the next stage of your life. And that's not failure, that's growth. And this matters because so many professionals feel trapped by ambitions they set 10 or 20 years ago. They keep chasing old goals because they think changing direction means giving up. The broader truth is this: the ambition that got you here may not be the ambition that gets you where you want to go next. And giving yourself permission to evolve It's one of the most liberating shifts you can make. And this led me to realize something even more important. If your ambitions evolve, then waiting for certainty before you act will keep you stuck forever. So that takes me on to lesson 3, which is that big moves don't start with certainty, they start with clarity. So before I left, I kept waiting for the perfect plan. I thought, I'll just do some more analysis, have a few more conversations, build out more of what my vision was going to be. I thought I needed that certainty before I could act. But the more I chased that certainty, the more stuck I actually felt. And then it clicked. You never get certainty in advance. The only thing you can have is clarity about what you want and why you want it. But that clarity is enough to take the first step. And once you do, then momentum builds and the path gets clearer with every move. And this is where so many professionals hold themselves back. They wait for certainty, and in doing so, they wait forever. We often think that we need to be confident to take action, but in reality, it is the taking of action that builds our confidence. So the broader truth here is that you don't need certainty to move forward, you need clarity. And if you can get clear on what matters to you now, you'll be amazed at how quickly the next steps reveal themselves. But even that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was moving forward despite this fear that I had. And that's where I had to learn that the fear of regret is far more powerful than the fear of failure, which is lesson 4. When I first started seriously thinking about leaving KPMG, I was full of fear. Fear of losing financial security, fear of walking away from the partner title, fear of what people would think if it didn't work out. And I told myself it was too big a risk. And then I realized something unexpected. The thought of staying and looking back in 10 years' time, regretting that I'd never tried, scared me way more than the thought of failing. And that shift was huge for me, because you can do something about failure, but regret is always permanent. And that's true for anyone stuck at a crossroads. You can spend years paralyzed by what might go wrong, but the bigger risk is what happens if you do nothing. And the broader truth is that regret is more painful than failure. So if you want clarity on your next move, don't ask, what if I fail? Ask, what if I never try? Walking away from partner pay and status isn't simple. That's just reality. And that's why I took practical steps before I left. So while I was still at KPMG, I built up a savings runway to give me some breathing space. That was money I was happy to spend to live on whilst I was getting my business up and running. I started quietly testing ideas, exploring what kind of work really lit me up, and I leaned on my network to sense check the business that I was thinking of building. I actually ended up working a 15-month notice period, which gave me a good amount of time to prepare, so that when the time came, it wasn't a leap into the dark, it was a much more calculated risk. What I didn't know then was that just a couple of years later, I'd be an international speaker, a sought-after executive coach, and running Atomic Ambition. And not only has the business given me the freedom to choose the people I work with and the problems I solve, but it's also matched and in many ways exceeded that sense of impact and fulfillment that I felt over a much longer period in my previous role. And the real transformation wasn't just in my career, it was in me. I stopped being the person who played by somebody else's rules, and I became someone who could define success on my own terms. I stopped settling for what I call safe ambition and started living the kind of ambition that I'd only ever encouraged other people to do. And once that switch happened, I didn't have time to worry about what I'd left behind, what I'd given up, because I was too busy building the future I actually wanted. And at the end of the day, this is my journey. This is the path I chose after 20 years in corporate. The lessons that gave me permission to want something different. It may not be the right path for everyone. Maybe you'll take these lessons and make your move within corporate. Maybe you'll use them to finally start the business that you've been sketching on napkins for years. Or maybe you'll realize that you're exactly where you need to be. But hopefully by sharing what it really took to leave my comfort zone, it will give you the clarity to stop ignoring that voice inside that's telling you there's something more. Maybe your comfort zone is different to mine. Maybe you're not ready to leave. Maybe you just need to expand where you are. Or you might be a bit further along than I was and you just need that final push. Whatever it is, Just make sure that whatever decision you make about your career, it's your decision. And it's not driven by what looks impressive on LinkedIn or what your peers or other people expect of you. Because I can tell you from experience, the regret of not honoring who you've become is far worse than any risk you'll take in pursuing it. Now, if you're ready to stop feeling stuck and start making moves that actually align with who you've become, I run a program called Atomic Ambition that helps successful professionals and leaders get crystal clear on their next chapter, whether that's a bold corporate move or building something of your own. You can find a link to it in the description below. And an important part of Atomic Ambition is learning that leaving your comfort zone won't work unless you can break free from the professional habits that are keeping you trapped in the first place. So watch this video next, where I break down the professional habits keeping you stuck despite your success. Because even with perfect clarity about what you want, these hidden habits will sabotage your progress every time.